Welcome to the sanctuary. I'm Kyle, and I'm here to tell you, never be afraid, step into the pleasure den of the absurd. Now, we're gonna continue on. This is the third and final video that I had said I was gonna do about some Frank Zappa albums, and here is the third one. This came out last year. I don't particularly like this album cover too much. It looks like a blueprint of the face of the Rainbow Theatre, which is in England, and this is where the show was recorded. It's an infamous show. Frank Zappa and the Mothers, December 10, 1971, London, England, at the Rainbow Theatre. It came out, it was released in 2022, and it was released in conjunction with the 50th, really the 51st anniversary of that album there, Fillmore East, 1971. This Rainbow show was remixed by Eddie Kramer of Jimi Hendrix notoriety, and he worked with Kiss, he worked with Ted Nugent, he worked with Led Zeppelin, and very significant person in the engineer and production world of record albums. And so anyway, this album is a 3-record set. It's the entire concert as it was, it's just like you were sitting in the audience. And that album there, the Fillmore, looks like it's written in pencil, Fillmore East, 1971. That was also issued as a 3-record set. But we'll get into that later. That is a beautiful time capsule, and that only a mind like Frank Zappa could put together and give to the public. So the thing that's notorious about this show is as the Mothers were touring in the fall of 71, this is the Flo and Eddie band, Mark Volman, Howard Kalin on vocals, and they had played a gig just maybe a week prior to this one, and you may know of its history without actually knowing what happened, but you know it by hearing the song Smoke on the Water by Deep Purple. And we all know, we've heard that song a lot. Frank Zappa and the Mothers were at the best show in town. And during their set, as the Mothers were playing, somebody shot like a flare gun or something. It started a fire, a big fire, and a lot of their equipment was destroyed because they had to get the hell out of there. You know what I mean? That's how serious it was. So, and if you're really intrepid history buff, you can actually find a recording of that, and it's just an infamous recording as, the Hindenburg exploding. You can find it on YouTube. And so when it came time for them to do this concert, they're using rented gear and all this other kind of stuff. Now, they had a lot of custom electronics that was damaged. So, as side one opens up, you got this thing called Zante Serenade, which really serves as a sound check for the band and for them to kind of get used to the synthesizers and electronics that they're using, you know, and setting all the dials right for the show that they're going to do. And it's actually quite an interesting listen. You know, you hear all the beeps and boops of the, you know, those early like Moog synthesizers and stuff, and while they're fiddling around, doop, boop, 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 you know, all this is going on, and then eventually out walks the rest of the band. You hear the applause, and what a band it is, you know. And then they just start jamming, you know, they turn something out of nothing, and it's a great jam. And I'll just show you a quick picture of the band that is included. There they are, the Mothers, 1971, as they were. You got Howard Kaylan, Mark Volman, Jim Pons, Don Preston, Ian Underwood, Ainsley Dunbar, and Frank himself. So it's just 7 guys, and what a band, I'll tell you what. As people rightly rediscovered with the release of the Fillmore stuff and this, and there was also an 8 CD box set containing this show, that show, and a whole bunch of other shows of that tour. And, you know, when I heard these recordings, I was like, wow, what a great band. I mean, they were having such fun. And the thing about this band that's pretty amazing too is, you know, I'm a big fan of Jimi Hendrix. And that last year of Jimi Hendrix, he had Mitch Mitchell on drums, which was from the original Jimi Hendrix Experience. And then he had Billy Cox, who he had played with in the Band of Gypsies, on bass. So he had like a combination of, Jimmy did, of both bands, and together the 3 of them were such a powerhouse. Now the reason I bring that up is because this band here has 2 original Mothers of Invention, Ian Underwood and Don Preston, along with the rest of the 70 band, which, you know, Pons and Kaylan and Volman, they all came out of the Turtles together. And Ainsley Dunbar's filling in on the drum kit here. And what a great band. And it's like, you know, Frank in his own way has like the best of, you know, he's got the new band. He's got a couple of old veterans with him. And wow, do they come together as a powerhouse and deliver the goods, man. And it's great to hear. So, you know, I listened to this record again today, all 3 albums, and, you know, I'd have to say it's overall, it's kind of a loose show for Frank. There's still that, you know, tightness, but then you know, like you hear parts where, you know, maybe they kind of didn't make the mark, or, you know, the precision that you're used to hearing from Frank may not exactly be there, you know, but there are some great performances on here, and it is a pretty good listen. So, you know, I would say side 1 is one of my favorites. For a Zante Serenade alone, and then it goes into Peaches and Regalia, and then Tears Begin to Fall. And it's fun. I mean, I really like Zanti Serenade. For me, this is sort of like the, what do they call it? Like deep track. You know, it is, for me, one of the standouts. So side 2, they do Shove It Right In, which I like that song. I mean, regardless of what they're singing about, man, it's just put together so well. You know, the vocals and the music and everything. And, you know, again, like I say, regardless of what they're singing about, it's a good song. and this side, you know, is sort of displays, I think, what a lot of people refer to the Flo and Eddie band, the 70, 71 band. You know, they call it the comedy band or the comedy music. And, you know, yeah, they would do these little, you know, sort of impromptu but yet scripted routines, you know, on stage. And, you know, this is part of it, you know. And so it goes from Shove It Right In to something called Pain in the Ass. And then it says Devon, Once Upon a Time. And they sort of set up the next song, which is Devon, Sofa Number 1. So there's record 1, side 1, and side 2. Those are the tracks. Early version is Sofa Number 1. You'd later hear that song on One Size Fits All and Live in New York. Nice little thing, and you get to hear the origins of it here. So here we go into record 2. Side 3 opens up with Pound for a Brown Part 1. Goes into a thing called Super Grease. And then goes into Pound for a Brown Part 2. And the side ends with Sleeping in a Jar, which was a Mother's tune, the original Mother's. Pound for a Brown is pretty good, and you'll hear elements of a little early version, a little bit of Sleep Dirt, Frank playing the chords in there, and it's pretty good. Pound for a Brown, goes through the melody and everything like that, and then Don Preston has a solo, and then Ian Underwood gets a solo, and and then Frank gets a guitar solo in there, and and everybody's playing along and everything. But you flip that side over, and side 4 is a solid side. I like this one there. It's Wonderful Wino, Charlena, and Cruising for Burgers. So there's record 2 right there. I think side 4 is a solid side. They're really having fun. I love Wonderful Wino. It's a great version. Charlena is really fun. And Howard Kaylan displays his vocal chops on that one. Cruising for Burgers is fun. These guys are on it. It's almost like, yes, they could have that precision with stuff, but they're just having so much fun playing this, and Frank doesn't seem to, it's not throwing Frank off in the least, and you got to remember, these guys are sort of, trying to get in the right frame of mind. They've had some bad luck on tour, and here they are, and they're going to get into worse luck at the end of the show. We'll get to it when we get there. And then here we go with probably my favorite record, and that's record 3, and side 5. It opens with That's Your Tough Luck. So Frank wanted to play something else. They're sort of talking on stage, and they're like, they wanted to play Billy the Mountain. And Frank's like, we only have so much time, So I guess maybe an audience member shouted out King Kong, and Frank's like, well, you know, I didn't really want to play it tonight because every time we come here, we play that song. But if you want to hear it, that's your tough luck. And they go into King Kong, which is, this is a great version of King Kong. It's certainly better, or more of a favorite of mine than Pound for a Brown is on this record. You know what I mean? So goes into King Kong, and you know, again, like Don Preston gets a solo, which I think feel is a little bit more orally interesting than the one he got on Pound for a Brown. And then you know, Ian Underwood gets a sax solo in there, and then you flip the side over and it continues, King Kong Part 2. And here, you know, Frank demonstrates some really interesting guitar playing. He's playing some really nice chords and arpeggios, and then the, you know, like the band kind of seeps in there, and it, you know, I could be wrong on this, but from what I've heard, you know, I would say it sounds, the only thing I can compare it to is the Grateful Dead. And if you agree with me, tell me in the comments. If not, tell me in the comments. And so they finish off King Kong, and they come back out. They go off stage. They come back out and do the Beatles' "I Want to Hold Your Hand," which is kind of like a almost like a reggae or ska type of version. It's like a melding of the Beatles version with, like, you know, a ska band or something. And you know, which would be big, would have a big resurgence in the mid to late 70s as part of an offshoot of the whole new wave thing, you know, that happened in the 70s. And again, tells you that Frank is ahead of his time in 1971. So after they finish playing I Want to Hold Your Hand, you could hear it. Some guy came on stage, you know, while Frank had his back turned to the guy. The guy pushed Frank off the stage. He fell, I think, like it was 18 feet into an orchestra pit. And he was laid up for, at least over a year, I believe it was, a significant time period in Frank's life. You know, he broke his leg, you know, his voice box got crushed, you know, his voice got lower after this happened. And, you know, thank God he came out of it, you know what I mean? Can you imagine if we didn't have all those years of Frank's music? I mean, what he left us with up to this point, you know, surely is nice to hear, but it's great that he persevered and was allowed to, you know, really talk about reaching your potential. Wow. The more I hear about Frank, the more I respect him. But yeah, it's a 3-record set. It's one of these that, you know, opens up like this, and it's got some liner notes written by Eddie Kramer, and there's a picture of everybody like checking out Frank in the orchestra pit, and it tells you all the musicians and stuff like that, and gives you again the picture of the band that performed that night, and there's all the songs on the back, and this cover, which I don't particularly like, but it's the music inside that really matters. And I would say this is a fun concert. You know, it's got some surprises, and you know, this band, every time I hear the 71 or 70 band, the Flo and Eddie band with Zappa, I mean, the exuberance of these guys, you know, is really coming through. And you could tell, like, Frank was, when you watch any film footage of these guys, he's clearly enjoying it. I mean, he had a lot of characters and a lot of personalities and a lot of great musicians contained in this band that's on this record. Eddie Kramer does a good job. It sounds great, and I'm happy that they put it out. You know, it was something nice to hear. You know, outside of the tense scene after him getting pushed off the stage, but it is historical. It did happen, and he came out of it, and we got all this other great music for all those years, you know, and that's cause to celebrate. Here's to Frank Zappa and the Mothers of 1971, a great band and a fun band. And with that, please, again, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Tell me in the comments, you know, have you heard this before? Geez, did I help recommend it to you? You know, tell me in the comments, you know, what's your favorite track off of here? You know, it's worth a good listen to every now and then. And like I say, I got, you know, out of 3 records, you know, I know which sides that are go-tos when I want to put this on. What are your go-tos? Let me know. Tell me in the comments. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Listen to Frank and the Mothers in 71. And be grateful for all that music he released afterwards. And with that, never be afraid. Step into the pleasure den of the absurd.